I'm not sure how to tackle this. This is kind of this is going to be something that I start to speak about more if you guys saw me talking about that important updated announcement where I'll be speaking about more real life things in another channel with my best friend. But a 23-year-old that I would argue I took under my wing. That's the best way for me to say it. I can't say I was a mentor or father figure to him or anything of the sort. Um, he took his life today. Um, because of a failure in a relationship that he had with a woman that broke his heart. And I am, I get it. Uh, as much as I have a certain perception and people look at me a certain way, there's a lot of things that a lot of guys have gone through that you'd be surprised. I've gone through it too. I've had my heart broken. I've been played. I've been cheated on. I've all that stuff. I've been manipulated. I've been strung along. I've been gaslighted. I've been abused. All of that stuff. And I know the world is trending in this mental health is super important, but you need to understand that honestly, if you're a man, the world doesn't actually care about that. They don't really care about you. I hope that I can do whatever I can to help fix that and change it. Your feelings, opinions, and thoughts as a man is very valid. It matters, and I need a lot of you to get a little stronger. I'm not I'm not calling myself the strongest person ever. I had to develop dragon stick scales as a byproduct of my life. It was a survival skill. There was no other way. I had to get stronger in that aspect. And be less sensitive and less emotional. I actually think I am one of the most sensitive and emotional people that I know, but I was emotionally cut off and unavailable because I just felt as a man you're supposed to move and do certain things. You don't show emotion, you don't cry, you're never sharing feelings, this and that and the other. Um and any time that I've tried to express any of those things, it's actually gone negatively, whether that's with family, not my friends really, but like certain family members or like a girlfriend or something. Yeah, it doesn't really they start to see you as a little bit as weak. To kind of highlight the situation he was in, he it was a pregnancy situation, and she was basically gonna not let him see it type B and all kind of stuff like that, and he just I think he was at the point where he felt like it just was worthless. There was nothing left out there. There was nothing for him, and he said I had enough. And you'd be surprised to know that at 24 years old, it was the only time in my life that I thought about taking it. I had hit rock bottom. I was injured. I wasn't in the as much as I've never been out of shape. I was in the worst shape of my life. I just got my heart ripped out. Back to back kind of failed relationships. I wasn't where I wanted to be career wise or from a monetary standpoint. I moved back in with my parents after college and all that kind of stuff, and I was drinking myself to death. Honestly, I hit rock bottom, and nobody pulled me out. There was no conversation. There was no person. There was no video. It just was me one day. I looked in the mirror and I hated that the nigga. I hated the nigga I was looking at. I said, "Who is this? This is pathetic." And I vowed to never let myself get to that level again. Things are changing in this world, very rapidly. I think the people who are championed, the politicians that are constantly pushed in our faces, the corporations that are constantly pushed in our faces, the celebrities and influencers and whatnot who are constantly pushed in our faces through mainstream media and social media and whatnot are for the most part, highly immoral people who don't actually care about any of the things that they're talking about. Stop Asian hate, Black Lives Matter. I care about the LGBTQ. They don't care. They're just using you guys a lot of the time. And I wish there was a way for me to help people think freely. I'm not you're free to believe whatever you want, but I do think a lot of you guys were indoctrinated into a certain belief from a young age, and you're kind of in an echo chamber. And when you hear something that's different from that, you spout out certain talking points and things you've heard throughout the years, but I don't necessarily think you believe them, honestly. And I think it's hurting civil, honest, open discourse. You're kind of being, it's kind of like to be popular, to get some sort of claim and a fame, you have to be a bad person. You have to lie, manipulate, pretend you care about something you don't really care about. How could this politician allow this law to pass in this state because blah, 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 feminism? And as a result of a lot of those things, it's made it very hard for a lot of guys to just express themselves without being completely demonized for having an opinion, for having a thought, for having feelings. I understand this. I isolated myself from the world when I kind of saw it going a certain direction. I didn't have the foresight to really comprehend what I was seeing, but I knew like my opinion didn't matter anymore. No one wanted to hear what I had to say. Well, I think maybe if shut up, cis male. You see what I'm saying? Like, I get it. I get that. All of those fears no longer exist within me. Not a single one. I will speak my mind freely. If I want to come right here and say, and someone's like, oh, for example, a man should do this, A and B and C and yada yada yada, and I go, cool, fair enough. I don't want to date a fat bitch. Fat bitch. Let me say it twice. I don't care how you malfunction. I don't care. Nope. I don't want to hear it. If you're allowed to have your standards, your desires and preferences and ideologies, as a man, you are allowed to have yours, and do not let a single person, man, woman, or in between, tell you that you're wrong for thinking that. Don't let someone tell you you're wrong for not, for saying, hey. Honestly, on both sides of the coin for this one, because this is one that's weird that I want to talk about when I talk about it, but if you're a single dad and a woman doesn't want to do with you, live with that. And if you're a single mom and certain, niggas really don't want to mess with you like that, you got to live with that. You got to live with the decisions and choices that you made in your life. I know sometimes things just go wrong. I know sometimes things where it was not a good situation. There was some forcing upon. We'll just keep it at that. I get that. I'm not trying to downplay any of those scenarios and things of that nature. But I have seen a lot of cheating, infidelity, toxic behaviors, lying, gaslighting, and people treating a baby and a child like it's not a very serious decision. Personally speaking, if you ask me, the decision to have a child or have a baby with anybody, it's like the most important thing ever. This is how humanity continues. This is how the next generation comes to fruition. You think I'm gonna half-ass a decision who I put a child in? Like, I come from a blended family. My family is a mess. No family is perfect, but I hate mine. I hate it. I can't stand it. My pops has 3 different women. Messy. I don't like my brother. I hate that nigga. Like, it's messy. I've seen what it's done to me to this day. How it still affects me. How, as a result of my mother, quote unquote, winning my dad, how I was treated. How she was treated. How they used to talk about us behind the closed doors. I don't want that for most people. I know a lot of blended families work out great. I'm not saying that they don't, but this trend of all of these children being created out of a proper structural family home, especially if probably marriage, I would say, is hurting a lot of us. A lot of these things come back to that. So in his situation that happened with my friend who basically knocked up somebody he didn't really want to, and she wouldn't, blah, blah, blah. And it was like a whole amalgamation of things. But I want to also make it clear that I understand that we're men, especially if you're heterosexual. I can't really speak on the other stuff. I don't know. That's not a world that I'm from. Women are important to us, and I know that you're always told not to care about them and to just focus on yourself and yada yada. That's easier said than done, and I don't even agree with that advice. I think if you're focusing on yourself in terms of like getting your career and finances and all your ducks in a row, so to speak, learning how to navigate the dating minefield is equally an important part of that. I think that a lot of our parents forced us to be very career oriented. That's the generation that we kind of come from. Do well in school, be a doctor, be a lawyer, blah blah blah. And that was the thing that they were focused on teaching us and telling us and propelling forward. And as a result of that, they didn't really steer us to be well-rounded human beings in all aspects of life. Who cares if you're 300 pounds as long as you have a good job? No, you might not see 40. Be in better shape. Fitness is important. You're not fluffy. You're not big boned. You're not a what do they call them? Full size, whatever. You're fat. You're obese. You're unhealthy. You need to go to the gym. Just because somebody is skinny or muscular does not mean they are healthy, because they could be eating like absolute and drinking like absolute crap. Don't think someone who's like is a figure of health and whatnot, but you're not healthy if you're overweight. The BMI is important. Please try your very like we're in North America, we are fat. Please try your best to stay in better condition. Move more, eat less, and eat better. Please. I understand some of that fast food shit be really enjoyable, but please, like the people who are still dying of things that are linked to obesity is still really high, especially in America. So please just be cognizant of that stuff. But this kind of telling you to think for yourself and not fall for a lot of these things, and just kind of think logically and rationally. Because I know how much a lot of this stuff can hurt an individual man, like the average dude, just who just like just trying to go through life, think, oh, I'll just be a good dude, blah blah, get a girl. You don't get that, and you know what? It's okay for you to feel a little frustrated about that. I'm tired of like certain people trying to like act like you're weak because you would have you would like to, as a man, you would like to have a proper relationship with a woman where everything is reciprocal, there's reciprocity and all of those things, equivalent exchange, you know compromises, all of those stuff. What you're pouring into her, she's pouring into you. There's nothing wrong with wanting that. It isn't the end all be all. If you're 20 plus and you're a virgin, who fucking cares? Don't let anyone demonize you and try to make you feel type of way for that shit. Because you know what? I'm really starting to learn more and more every day that life really is a marathon. It's not a sprint. Somebody who's doing extremely well at 24 could be on their ass at 32. You never know how life's gonna go. So take your time, do things the right way or the way you believe should be done. Don't just listen. Like, I know, like, sometimes we just want to distract ourselves. Like, oh, we're on Twitter. Oh, don't get caught up in all that stuff all the time. Think for yourself. Divorce yourself from it and think. Think independently. Does it make why are all these social media outlets promoting all of this promiscuity and just like naked and sexual liberation stuff? Why do you think think about think and be intentional about the things you do every day. Take your life a little more seriously. This is coming from somebody who didn't take his life very seriously in his early 20s. I would argue that I started taking life seriously at 26. That's too late. I wish I at least 23 I started to take my life a little more seriously. I would be in a much better position today from a social economical status, just finances in general. I would have been more financially literate. I'd have been healed. I did therapy. I went through therapy this year. Something I looked down on for a long time. Therapy helped make sense of my life. A lot of it. It made me understand the struggles that I had in dating, and having struggles in dating is fine. It's common. Don't feel ashamed because of that. I'll be honest with you. I'm not a guy who's ever had trouble getting sex from girls as early as 13 years old. I used to get attention from older women that I shouldn't have gotten as early as 8. I won't lie to you. But you know what I've always had trouble doing? Being in a relationship for long. My longest relationship when I was 19 is the last time I had one, 19 into 20. So it's been about 8 years. 11 months was the longest. I never even hit a year. Never even had a 1-year anniversary. Sure, I can have sex. Great. But when that stopped being important to me. I think for a lot of people, men and women alike, who are highly promiscuous, get to a point where this stuff is like, this wasn't the wave, this wasn't the way to do it, this wasn't it. I messed up. Like, we should have we should have done something different. We should have, I want to make it very clear. If you are a single man or a woman or in between, I don't know, transgender, zebra, whatever, and you want to explore the sexual marketplace, I think that's completely fair. Do so. My What I'm saying is, please do not overindulge. I know how it looks. And you need to understand what type of person you are. You might not be the guy or gal who gets fulfillment with what do they call it? They call it spinning plates or just hooking up with a bunch of different people. That might leave you hollow and destroy your psyche long term. You might be the person who gets fulfillment from being in a loving long-term relationship. Not saying it's gonna work. Maybe you get into one 2 years, you get into another one 3 years, you get into another one 2 years, but it's could be a long relationship. It's not just bouncing around ping ponging. Conversely, you might be the one that needs to ping pong. You might not be the one who's actually designed to be in those longer term relationships. To circle back to what I was talking about earlier, just to show you the side how I view this to a certain degree. I think high levels of promiscuity are bad for both men and women alike. Speaking from myself on this point and this point personally, I stopped enjoying that shit. I didn't care for it. I wasn't even know why I was doing it anymore. I just had a habit, maybe because I'm biologically I had needs. Who cares? But it stopped being important to me. I had to stop masturbating to recontextualize my relationship with sex. I don't fat, by the way. I stopped completely. I was never really that big into it, all things considered. I really wasn't, and I'm not telling you to do it, but I do think that we as men, on average, especially looking at the statistics, we're way too addicted to pornography. OnlyFans, Pornhub, whatever, yada yada, blah blah. Way too addicted. Cut it, scale it back at the very least. Being on meat every day, don't do that shit. The small things you do every single day make up your long-term psychology, and what that could do to you is cause some ED down the line as a result of you're stimulated by a very specific set of things that you may not be able to experience in real life, and you're rewarding yourself with release for something you didn't actually engage in. Just I'm just throwing that out there. You know, you live your life, and you know maybe this happened to you, but I'm just throwing it out there. I think it's done a lot for me, in terms of my focus and everything, semen retention, everything like that. I think it's a good idea. But also, but yeah, sorry. My problem was that anybody that I wanted to commit to be in a relationship with never wanted me. That was my struggle as a man dating. I can get situationships, friends with benefits, more than what is it, more than not quite lovers but more than friends. That's kind of been what I've been doing from 28 to now, and it wasn't fulfilling for me. And my therapist said something to me that stuck with me for like a couple of months, and I think about it, and she says, essentially, I can't remember what she said verbatim, but she said basically to me that I was a good man, nice guy, and I was meant to just be with one girl. That would have fulfilled me. I would have been happy. I didn't need all this, and the world turned me to something, and I'm not. I was never designed to be. And I think a lot of us are like that on both sides of the fence. I think men being lied to about what women really want. Like, take the skin off your bone and just wrap it around her, pedestalize her, give her everything she wants. You're the man, provide and protect, and they see you as weak and they leave you, and you're too vulnerable. You're in touch with your feminine side. They leave. Like, you do these things enough, and you get very angry and frustrated because it's like your world is distorted from the lies that were told to you to get you an outcome that you believe that you can get. And I think what that does, it creates the nigga like me, who's like, well, I'm gonna just bang, 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 sleep around, do my thing because when this is all cooked, this is all bad. That's not a good mentality to move through life with. It really isn't. And I think conversely, when a woman gets her heart broken, then she becomes what she becomes. I think we're creating the monsters on both sides of the fence. We're creating the ain't shit niggas, and then we're creating ain't shit bitches. So we gotta do better, which is why I believe in the unity. I think that this world has been trying to divide us for so long. Men versus women, black versus white, the race baiting, left-wing politics versus right-wing politics, the LGBTQ versus heterosexual people or whatever, Dave Chappelle, like all these distractions and nonsense. So just try to keep your head on your hard hat on and just kind of like really see things for what they are and question stuff. Ask very simple questions. What's the meaning behind this? Why would you promote this? Why are we championing Cardi B, who is admitted to drugging people and taking their money and blah blah yada yada? You know what I'm saying? Are these things that you are these good things? You feel what I'm saying? So just a lot to consider. And the last thing I'll say on the high promiscuity thing with me, it became an obsession with me. I became I want you to look. I want you to see this for what it really is. At least when it comes to me, I had become so pathetic that it could be 10 p.m. On a Thursday night, and I'm like, I give in to my lowest instinct, to my lowest desire, and go be with somebody that I really shouldn't have been doing that with, because I'm so afraid of staying in this bed by myself. It's out of loneliness, out of weakness, out of vulnerability that I'm making these decisions. Because I'm like, oh, I just want a girl to like me for 2 seconds. Oh, I just want to be held. Weak. Pathetic. And that's how a lot of my decisions of like that have been made. So, I don't know. All I'm saying is, Ben, I think it'll get worse before it gets better. I don't think you're a lame or a loser for honestly, genuinely wanting to live your life, but also experience things like a relationship, a little bit of casual sex here or there, whatever the case is. You're nothing's wrong with that. You having your own beliefs and standards of things you do not want to date, or having preferences is fine. Please, for the love of Christ, protect yourself. Protect yourself. Wear condoms if you're going to engage with sexual intercourse. Please wear condoms. It's not a joke. It's not. These things happen. Like, it just takes one time, one slip up. Okay, do not fall into that trap and mistake, because it takes lives. Okay, so rest in peace to my friend. Guys, I hope that the podcast that I come up with can help with a lot of this stuff. But I hear you. If you ever need any, you just need to lend an ear, some advice. I'm not perfect. I'm not where I necessarily want to be. I'm not happily married, raising children yet or anything like that. So I can't speak on everything. But what I can do is speak on the things that I've studied, learned throughout my life, and people in my life, because I watch very closely. Because I actually monitor the older people in my life who are like 44 to 50, the ones with successful marriages, successful families, successful children, and the ones who aren't, the ones who are bitter and always talking shit. So, I love you guys. I love everybody, men, women alike. Just be careful, because I do think that a lot of the stupidness that people believe, and the celebrities we care about, and the music and the blah blah blah, and the super standing and all of that, it's all intentional. And I think making women very entitled and men extremely weak is on purpose. But we'll figure it out in due time.